Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, TomKat Stitchery. I'm Whitney and today we are starting t-shirt week, so yay! In this time in our world where things are really tough for a lot of people, I personally am relying on sewing to keep my sanity. It is definitely my therapy. And as we're approaching, well, it's t-shirts. As you're approaching cooler months or warmer months, wherever you are, whichever hemisphere you happen to reside, t-shirts are always good. They're always great layering pieces. They're good standalone pieces. They're just great additions to any wardrobe. It's a t-shirt. So today I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about patterns and some inspiration on ways that we can kind of zhuzh up the normal t-shirt silhouette. You know, it doesn't just have to be a change in neckline or sleeve length or whatever, which is definitely great. But I'll talk about some different ways that you can kind of up the wow factor when it comes to your t-shirts for standalone or also for layering under other pieces. All right, so first things first, I'm going to talk, sorry, I'm smashing the dog. Can you see her back here? I don't know if you're following along on my daily vlogs right now. I just found out that the state of Indiana has closed schools until May 1st right now. And at this point, I don't know. I think I would be surprised if we do end up going back at all to the building, which means I'm a homeschool mom for this last quarter, which is tough. And we're only 2 days in. Anyway, I use sewing as a way to lift my spirits, but I do want to say, any of these will work with any t-shirt pattern. If you have a favorite t-shirt pattern you love, fantastic. I'm only going to be going through the t-shirt patterns that I have that I'll be using, and I clearly don't have all of them. So I'll be just using some t-shirts that I actually already own, and I will be mostly using, I'm going to be using the Love Notions Classic Tee. That t-shirt comes with a full bust option as well as a standard bust option, and I've talked before how in Love Notions patterns I'm right on the line between their full bust and their standard bust options. So typically for their knit patterns I stick with the standard bust, and for full bust options or for wovens, their woven patterns, I bump up to the full bust pattern pieces. That seems to be working just fine for me. But I'm going to be sewing with the classic t-shirt. It comes with a few different necklines, which I love, and sleeve length, so it's a perfect base pattern for changing things up a little bit. I'm also going to be using the Itch to Stitch Idlewild t-shirt. It's a t-shirt and dress. It has two different necklines, kind of a skinny scoop and a wider scoop. I'll probably play around with both of them. And it comes in a few different sleeve lengths. I'm trying to think. I think it's like 42 different options. And then shirt lengths, like they have a tunic. She has a ruched sleeve on that. She has quite a few different sleeve options on that one. And you can also make it a dress. I will also be using Pamela's Patterns, the Perfect T-shirt, both the original pattern and the pattern extension. Because I have both of those. So the pattern extension is just a, sorry, someone's calling. My wrist is rumbling. So the expansion pattern is just, I think, 3 more necklines and 2 different sleeves. And then the original one has 3 necklines and then just different sleeve. It's like a short, a 3/4 and a full length sleeve, just your standard, like, you know, form-fitting sleeve. But we'll be going over some of the necklines on that one. Actually, her V-neck line the way she does her V-neck and her square neck, I'm not a big fan of. So I'll be showing you how I do that. And I think I'll also be sewing with the Seamwork Patterns Ellie, which is a Henley t-shirt. I've had some requests on how to do a placket, like a Henley placket, or a placket if you're going to be doing like a polo shirt, how to do that on knit fabrics. And so I will be making that one up because I already own that one. Yes, and I think that is it. I mean, there's 100 different t-shirt patterns. I think Green Style Creations just released a free one. You know, you've got different silhouettes. You can have looser ones. You can have more fitted ones. Tassuti Patterns has the Mandy boat neck tee in a couple different sizes, but it's free. And it's definitely a looser fitting one. Grain Line Patterns has their Lark Tee, which can be a little bit more form-fitting or loose depending on what type of fabric you use, and I am going to show you with that one the differences in using like a bamboo knit versus a cotton knit, because I have both of those made up. But they also have the Hemlock Tee, which is a free pattern that's very boxy and loose. I mean, there's just a ton. You know, Tilly and the Buttons has their Agnes Tee. There's just a ton. Jennifer Lauren Handmade, she's got her Ostra, I think, t-shirt. I mean, there's just search through t-shirt patterns, and there's a ton of commercial patterns as well that are t-shirt patterns. So really, any of this, you can use any of these t-shirt patterns. So let's just get started. So today we're going to talk about inspiration and different ways that we can change a t-shirt pattern, any one that you might have, to make different variations. And then on Tuesday, I think I'm going to be talking about fabrics that I'll be using, and different fabrics, what you might want to look for when you're shopping for t-shirt fabrics online. And then I'm also going to be talking about fitting. So I'll be showing you some different some muslins that I've made and kind of the fit and how I've corrected those, and just some different fit alterations for t-shirts. And then on Friday, I'll be going over some neckline options. I've had a lot of people asking about different, ways to do different necklines, such as a boat neckline. I'm going to do the Pamela pattern one, which would be, I mean, it's doable to draft it yourself on any boat neck pattern, really, or even regular t-shirt pattern. I mean, if you really wanted to, depending on how adventurous you are. But I am going to show you the Pamela pattern and how how that's sewn up, because it's just genius. I just really love the way that finishes. I'll be talking about a square neck / V-neck. It's inserted the same way. It's just you're inserting into two corners with a square neck as opposed to just one with a V-neck. Talking about ratios with stretch and how to determine what size to make your neckband. I very rarely use the neckbands that are included in patterns. I usually just do my own. I will be talking about that. And I had a few questions on how to add a cowl neck to any t-shirt pattern. I can talk about that as well. So that will be, Friday. We'll be doing a lot of neckline stuff on Friday. And then next Sunday, I'll be doing kind of a show and tell of all the t-shirts that I've made, the different variations, different sleeves, all that kind of stuff. It'll be kind of a lookbook. So hopefully that is answering most of the questions that you guys have about t-shirts. And also, if you're watching the daily vlogs right now, I'm getting ready to start sewing those t-shirts, and so I'll probably do a lot in the daily vlog on those as well, which will actually be the week before t-shirt week starts. So if you haven't seen those already, you probably want to go back and just watch a few of them. I mean, you may kind of have to pick through them. I mean, I haven't filmed those yet, so I don't know what's going to be included, but I will be sewing the t-shirts next week, so I'm sure they will make appearances, and I'll probably be talking about them in the daily vlogs. So that is what we have going forward. So let's talk about, my computer's gone dead. I've jabbered enough. So let's talk about some different options for t-shirts. So I have all these pinned on my Pinterest board, but I'll be popping pictures up as well. So I will be looking down on my laptop so I can kind of see what I'm talking about. But the first one we have here, and again, some of these are from Bowden, some of these I pinned from Madewell, I think, J. Crew, Anthropologie, a whole bunch of different stores. So I will leave a link to my Pinterest board down below where you can go to the direct source of all of these if you're interested in actually getting back to the original post where I found all these t-shirts. So the first one we have, this is a beautiful knotted shirt, which is very in right now. I actually went to a cabbie party. I don't know if you guys are familiar with cabbie, but it is like an in-home clothing buying experience. There's a stylist that comes in all the different lines, like a Tupperware party type thing, but with clothes. Anyway, a friend of mine invited me over. I actually bought a pair of shoes that I can't wait for them to come. They're pretty amazing. But one of the things I noticed is that quite a few of their tank tops have this knotted detail, just like this top up here. Now, Itch to Stitch has a shirt called the Nottingham that, I think it's the Nottingham. I'll post a picture up here of the pattern. But it does this knot for you. I think that it is just so cute, and it also gives just a little bit of an asymmetrical hem to the bottom of the shirt, which is very flattering because your eye does not get stopped on a horizontal line. That's why a lot of times, you know, like a shirt tail hem on a t-shirt where it's a little bit higher on the sides and kind of scoops down a little bit in the front, maybe a little bit in the back, are so flattering because it's not just one horizontal line for your eye to get stuck in. That's also why I like to do that French tuck a lot, which is where you just tuck half of your shirt kind of into the, you know, the front part of your jeans, because again, it's not a straight line, so it really helps keep the eye moving and keeps things looking longer and leaner, so you don't have, again, a line to chop you off. I love that look. I also learned a way to tie your shirt kind of from this gal, this Cappy Party, and I will show that in the lookbook. It's so easy, but such a cute little way to wear a t-shirt, so I will be doing some of that next Sunday as well. All right, t-shirt number 2. I was drawn to this one because I really loved the pleated sleeve. So if you'll look here, she's got, instead of gathering into the top of the sleeve cap, she's just pleated it up, which is a very easy thing to do. Basically all you're doing, as long as you leave the sewing line, so, you know, if you cut down into the seam allowance and you cut your sleeve up to that line and have a hinge, you can spread that sleeve as much as you want. Actually for this one, you would actually cut the sewing line, sorry. You can create fullness though that way without cutting the sewing line and just spread the sleeve and get a very voluminous, you know, voluminous sleeve, such as here. And then, you know, create bishop sleeves and all that kind of thing. With a pleat, you would cut through the, sewing line. Just make sure, you know, you're adding your pleat, whatever you want, and then you fold it and true everything up. That may be sounding more complicated than I'm intending it to, but it's just a great way of just adding a little something. Or if you have a shirt pattern, even a woven pattern that's a really full sleeve that might have gathering at the top, if you just fold that gathering out into a pleat to make it fit the arm's eye, you're good to go. And you can create that really cute little box pleat at the top, which I think is very adorable. And then she has it gathered into bands at the sleeve, which you could easily do just like an actual cuff, which is just a strip of knit fabric that you have fit your arm, and then you're just stretching it when you sew the sleeve in, and it goes ahead and gathers for you. Or you can serge the hem of the sleeve, stitch it up, you know, sew, leave a spot, and then just like you would, like on this top, for instance, insert some elastic. You could do that very easily as well for that same type of treatment. I just thought it was neat. I just thought that that pleat was a really neat detail and a way that you can change up a t-shirt fairly easily. Another thing that you can do if you want it. Now, because knit is so forgiving, it's a little easier to flip-flop sleeves into tops. Now, definitely a knit sloper is different than a woven sloper, that hands down. But if you're wanting a really full voluminous sleeve, you could use a woven one if you want to. All you need to do is measure your sewing line on both the front and back arm's eye of your t-shirt pattern, and then make sure that it's pretty close to the cap on the sleeve. I mean, unless you're wanting to add a pleat in to take out some of the fullness in the sleeve cap. With knits, you really want it more 1-to-1 ratio. I wouldn't go more than like, gosh, well, with wovens, it's usually like an inch, 3/4 of an inch to an inch for like a shirt. So I feel like with the knit, you really don't want, you want it as close to a 1-to-1 ratio with the arm's eye seam line as the same, and this is the sewing line, not the cut line. The same with the sleeve. But again, if your sleeve is very, very full of ease, you could either fold that ease out with some pleats or some gathering, add some gathering stitches if you wanted kind of a poof sleeve, which are all very, very in now. So you could technically, you know, play around with it. You know, find some cheaper knit fabric, play around with it. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't work, but because knit stretches, it is much more forgiving for those kind of things. So it's a little easier to swap sleeves in and out with knits. All right, next one. I thought that this was so fun. So this is just a t-shirt with contrast sleeves, and I think, I love the camo on this, but I think that the tee, maybe not. No, I think it's just contrast. This is like a bell sleeve, or was it called a bell sleeve? A bishop sleeve, bishop sleeve. This is a bishop sleeve. And I love the fact that they've got different solid fabric and then the pattern fabric for the sleeves. I think this would be fantastic for like scrap busting. If you've got, you could even use a heavier weight fabric on the sleeves if you wanted, like a French terry, and then just use a regular cotton spandex or rayon spandex or whatever for the body of the t-shirt. But all they've done is taken a sleeve, and this is where you wouldn't cut through the seam line. You just slice up through the sleeve in intervals, spread your sleeve. It will change the sewing line, but it will not make it grow or shrink because you're just hinging at that sewing line. And then you just gather it into a big cuff. So you'll want to cut off, however big you want your cuff, you want to cut that much off the sleeve so that you don't have like a super long sleeve, obviously. But leave a little bit. It's kind of neat when those big bishop sleeves kind of hang over those thicker cuffs just a little bit. So you don't want it perfect, the length of your arm. Make it just a little bit longer because that cuff should be tight enough that it will keep everything from falling down over your hands. But the way you draft a cuff is you literally just measure your wrist and maybe subtract a little bit out of there if you want it to fit kind of snugly. And it also depends on the stretch on your fabric. If you've got a lot of stretch, you can go a little snugger. If it's not super stretchy, maybe you just want to do the width of your wrist. And then just decide how long you want it and double it because, don't forget to add seam allowance, but you'll just double it because you just fold those over like you would a cuff. Hopefully that's easy to understand. I know that a lot of this isn't super big. If you've never made a t-shirt before, some of this is going to be a little harder, but for later on down the road, once you have a few t-shirts under your belt, knits are very easy to work with. Once it's different than working with wovens, but they're very easy to work with. All right, the next inspiration picture is just a t-shirt that has 2 ties sewn into the side seams. I think this is so cute. So you would just take a little bit of a boxier fit and just make a tie. And I wouldn't just do a strip, like a rectangular strip. I would do one that's a little thicker at the end that then kind of tapers down to something a little thinner. I just think that's a little more aesthetically pleasing, and it kind of creates almost that obi belt effect. It's just very, very in. You see this in dresses, in tops, everything right now. So it would be very easy just to add that to a t-shirt pattern, and you're just sewing it in right at the waist of a t-shirt, and then you just tie it and you're cinching in your waist, and I think it's very flattering. All right, next up, oh, this one is a lot of fun. This is just a boxier t-shirt, and you wouldn't have to use a boxy t-shirt, but this one actually has a drop shoulder. But she has put in a woven fabric into that. I just think it's so cute. You could really play around with a lot of volume. You might have to gather it to fit into, and you could do this into a regular armscye as well. It wouldn't have to be a dropped arm or drop shoulder. And then she has the same knit for the cuffs on the bottom. So she has just gathered like a thin chiffon into the arm and then also into the cuff. And then you've got a really voluminous sleeve that adds a lot of really cool interest. I think that one would be really easy to recreate as well and is a fantastic idea for making something a little different. And if you're using a chiffon, especially a silk chiffon, it would be very breathable for summer. So you could get away with wearing a long sleeve shirt in summer probably much easier than you would normally. All right, next, let's see. This one, I just thought the sleeves were really cute. So basically, it's the same idea of having kind of a poofier sleeve, which you just want to add something that has gathers at the top, and then she has cinched it in at a band around a short sleeve band. And you could make this as dramatic or as subtle as you would like. Now, this would not work for me because I don't like sleeves that end at that point of my body. It just creates too much of a line right where I don't want a horizontal line because I have a large bust. But I think this is adorable for those that have a little bit of smaller bust, and maybe you do, if you're a pear shape and you do want to draw more attention to your upper body, I think this is a fantastic look. I think it's so cute and pretty easy to do. Again, you're just adding volume to your sleeve, gathering it in at the top, and then also gathering it into a cuff that fits your arm, snugly right there, about mid-arm on her. And it's so cute. You could do it in a solid, you could easily do it in a print. I mean, it's sky's the limit. All right, next up we've got this cute little boat neck top. This is a Bowden top. It's just boat neck, and they've added buttons here. Now I'm pretty sure that they're functioning buttons. I can kind of see where they've actually overlapped on one side. I think it's just on one side. Overlapped to create kind of a placket, but honestly, you could just put 2 buttons. I mean, a boat neck, you would never unbutton that anyway, and I would really doubt that those are functioning buttons. You could just put 2 buttons right there, and it gives kind of the same effect, but I think that's such a cute detail there with a boat neck top. And a way to use some of those buttons that maybe you just have a couple, but they're really neat and you don't really know what to do with. I would interface that area, that seam though, just to make sure that the knit doesn't stretch by having the weight of the buttons there. All right, next is a Henley. These are very popular, and again, I'm gonna be doing a Henley shirt placket for you. This one goes down lower than the one that I'll be working on, but this is kind of more of a lightweight sweater knit, and I am gonna be making mine also in a lightweight sweater knit. But I just think it's just, again, a way to add a little interest, something a little different in a sweater knit where it almost looks like it could be a woven shirt, but when in fact it is knit. Yeah, it looks cute in the high-waisted jeans as well, all tucked in. This was another one. Now this is a button-down dolman style shirt, which would be very easy to do in a knit. Now I would definitely, I think, choose a little bit more structured knit, because if you're going to be putting a button placket with buttonholes, using a rayon or a bamboo knit is just going to be so, even using interfacing, going to be so slinky, you may just really regret your decision later on down the road. But I think using a stable like cotton spandex blend would be fantastic for this, or even like a linen knit. Oh, a linen knit would actually be fantastic. Cotton, 100% linen knit. Linen knit typically does not have a lot of stretch, so that something like this would be perfect. And you could just use a woven pattern. Love Notions has their Melody Dolman that would be fantastic for something like this. And again, it's just a very comfortable way to wear a knit shirt and something a little different, and you wouldn't have to do anything really differently to the pattern. You just make it in a stable knit, basically, like a linen or a cotton spandex, or even just 100% cotton, because you don't need the stretch. This was another scrap buster idea. I thought this one was so cute, and they've used 2 different stripes, which maybe you would think, oh, I don't know about that, but I think it looks adorable. And tucked in with a pair of high-waisted white pants, what a fun t-shirt. You could do any sleeve length you wanted on this. I do like the short sleeves though. I think that it's just enough of contrast in the 2 different stripes that it adds interest without being overwhelming. But yeah, do whatever neckline you wanted. I think this would be a great way to use up some scraps of knits that you might have lying around like I do. Okay, this next one I think is adorable. They have put, and I think it's little pom-poms, but you could use any type of trim on this. Now, the trick to this, because trim is not going to be stretchy, unless you happen to find some really neat lingerie elastic, which is out there, honestly. Actually, I have some stretchy piping that would be adorable in something like this. But if you're using something that's not stretchy, you need to make sure that you have a shirt that you can easily get on over your head without needing the stretch. So you're gonna want more of a scoop neck or a boat neck or something that doesn't need to stretch a lot to get over your head. Also, the same thing with the shirt sleeves. You want those to be bigger than your arm so that it doesn't need to stretch for your arm to get through it. But if you make sure you've got that taken care of, I think these little pom-poms are so cute on the edge of the shirt and also along the neckband. And they've just sandwiched that in between the neckband and the body of the shirt. So you would just baste it in place around the neckline before you added your neckband, basically. And then sew the neckband on per normal. I think it's so cute. All right. Here is another one. This one has like an, oops, embroidered, it's the same basic idea. It's just an embroidered band that's going around the neckline and around the bottom of the sleeve. Again, if you have something that doesn't stretch, or if you're doing your own embroidery, you just want to make sure that the shirt is big enough to get over your head without having to stretch. you don't want to run into that problem. But this is basically the same idea, just another way to add a little interest to your t-shirt. Okay. Next, we've got wrap t-shirts. This one I think is really cute, being very fitted, but with a more voluminous sleeve. The Love Notions Willow wrap shirt would be fantastic for something like this, and then you could just play around with the sleeve and add whatever sleeve you want into that pattern. Again, you just want to measure your arm's eye and your sleeve, make sure that those are somewhat close. And this one you might want, although it looks like it's fitted in pretty good, and then it gets voluminous at the bottom. Honestly, if you can find a pattern that has a bell sleeve, basically all this is a bell sleeve that's been gathered into a cuff. So you can use a knit stretchy, well, you want to use a knit stretchy cuff unless you're going to put buttons on the cuff there. But yeah, as long as you can get your hand in there, it'd be very easy to add just a knit cuff down there, like a skinny one. All right, and the final two are the same idea. These are both from Bowden. This is a t-shirt where they have just taken a fun ribbing for the cuffs of the shirt. You could use any shirt pattern, especially one that has a cuff, and the cuffing that they have available right now is amazing. I've actually ordered 3 different ones from Etsy, and I will leave a link down below to the shop. It's Germany. I have no idea when it'll get here. Right now it's saying, I mean, any day that it could arrive, but I don't know like what shipping and customs is like at the border for goods right now. I have no idea. Things are just so crazy. I don't know when it will show up, but I bought 3 different fun cuffings to use. One of them, well, 2 of them are for my daughter because she wants that cropped sweatshirt that I'm going to be making. But one of them I did buy to use for the cuffs on one of my t-shirts because I think it's just so fun and just a little bit of something. And then this last image is the same thing where they just have a fun pop of color at the bottom of the cuffs, which just adds to the gray t-shirt. I mean, it's just something, little fun pop, makes it different, and just a very easy way to change up a t-shirt. So there you have it. Those are some ideas of ways to take a regular t-shirt pattern and kind of make it yours, change things up, play around with some pattern hacking, some pattern drafting. There's quite a few online resources for that. Blueprint has quite a few on changing sleeves and doing pattern drafting with sleeves. Oops, excuse me. That would be fantastic for that kind of thing. All right, so again, next time I will be talking about fitting t-shirts and about fabrics and how to buy fabrics and what fabrics I'll be using. And I'll also talk a lot about some of the notions that I use when I'm sewing my t-shirts. I do use some stay tapes that I'll kind of talk, I've talked about them before, but I'll show you what I use in order to get good hems. Also, someone had asked about doing a shirt tail hem and how to, or any kind of knit hem that has a curve, and the easiest way to do that. Which is basically using a knit binding, kind of the same way that I do my shirt tail hems with bias binding, just you would use knit instead of bias tape, knit strips instead of bias tape. But yeah, I'll talk about that as well on easy ways to hem the shirts. And if this, if I find that I have just way too much information for just these 4 videos, I'll probably just pop things into the vlogs that are going on that week as well. Yeah. So it would actually be the week before because that's when I'll actually be sewing, and you're seeing the vlogs in real time pretty much like a day later. So stay tuned for that, and I will, hopefully help you guys through as we go along. And since I'm doing the daily vlogs, if you have any questions about t-shirts, just pop them in the comments and I can talk about them the next day. So that's kind of the plus of doing the daily vlogs right now. All right, that's all I have for today. I'm very excited about starting t-shirt week with you guys, and I will see you on Tuesday for another actual video, and then again daily in the daily vlogs. Hope you guys have a good one. Bye.